Jesus in the boat and the storm was brewing up, who did you relate to? I wonder. For me, I think the disciples getting scared or worried, trying to sort it out, or to Jesus sleeping through it. And it struck me as I read this before today, thinking about Amber and her baptism later in this service. Amber is still young enough that she has complete trust in her parents, and she's likely to be young enough that she could still happily sleep through a storm, through being rocked, maybe walked around, through anything that happened. She trusts and knows that she is safe and loved in the arms of her mum and dad. And I wonder if that's what Jesus is trying to remind the disciples. Jesus, as an adult, has absolute trust in his Father. He knows that whatever the storms he is facing, that God the Father is there for him. Whereas the disciples, like most of us, I suspect, get scared. Now, I hope maybe not today we're facing a literal storm in a boat, but all of us face the usual ups and downs in life. None of us can get away from the stories of illness and pain and fear and hurt that strike every family. And in those moments, in the storms of life, how do we react? I think the disciples' reaction is really normal. It is so easy for us to be afraid. We want to control and we want to sort things out. We want to get rid of the illness or the pain, or we want to stop the storm. And we get afraid when we can't do that. In our fear, amidst the things that are happening in life, are we still able to see the truth that Jesus is pointing to? Or in our fear, do we panic, just like the disciples did? And I'm not immune from fear either. Our fear, though, can get in the way of us seeing the truth. The truth that Jesus is pointing us to, that whatever happens, God is with us. In the middle of that storm in a boat, Jesus asked the disciples, "Where is your faith?" And I wonder, in the midst of our own crises, if we were asked the same question, how would we answer it? Where is your faith? In our church here, we've got the beautiful window at the front, reminding us always of Jesus' love for us, reminding us that no matter what our fears, no matter what is going on in our lives, Jesus is always here for us, and he is always pointing us to God the Father, reminding us that none of us is ever alone. As we gather together today, we're going to make promises in baptism, promises to care for Amber and to bring her up in faith. We're making the promises that we will teach Amber the stories of God, and that we will help her to know that she is never alone, that we will teach her God's ways, God's love. And as we teach Amber, I think we are reminding ourselves too. It's why we're here in a church community, so that we can keep reminding each other. We can travel together, helping us to remember that our faith is in God. No matter how difficult some days seem, no matter what crises we face, God is always with us, and God promises us peace, the peace that only he can give us, a peace beyond all understanding. So are we willing to learn from Amber, the youngest member of our community, to see her trust in her earthly parents, and to be inspired by her trust, and know that we can all trust God in that same way? As we so often hear in our Bible stories, do not be afraid. Each of us is called to let go of our fear, to let go of our anxiety, and to accept God's love for each of us right now in our lives as they are today. Amen.